Hi, this is Scott from Rebel Driver's Garage. This is going to be part 2 of the salvage yard that we went to. This is Andersen's self-service salvage yard. It is in Kearney, Nebraska. We have part 1 that's I already did post it up like last week or so. So check that one out. This is part 2, continuing about all the classics that we found in that large yard, and it's amazing. Some of them have been there a long time, but I've been going to this yard for 7 years. I've been getting stuff off of some of these cars, but I wanted to share this video with you and continue our adventure there. Enjoy. Have a great day. 59 Impala 4-door sedan. There's not much left of it, but it still has the 283 in it. And 283s in 1959. It's actually 60. Was it a 60? Sure. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's got this. Yep, 60. But 1960, the 283s had forged cranks in them, and you could bore the over 125 over, and that would make it a 301. Solid lifter camshaft, a good decent set of heads, and you got a 7,000 RPM engine. Yeah, pretty cool. Here's an interesting one. There's a Buick Skylark 61. Oh, look!
Monroe Ranch.
There we go. Half inch.
9/16.
Yeah. Oh, it's double-sided? So there's some of these. It's an automatic. I like this one. Has like the gauge pod. It's like an extra pod just sitting on top of the dashboard. And did this one have the transaxle in it? Nope, just a regular rear end in this one. There's no engine in it. But in this year, you could get an aluminum all 215 cubic inch V8.
This had the aluminum V8 in it.
Yeah, some of them did, yeah. 67 Galaxy 500 2-door hardtop 390. You know it's a 390 because it had the 390 flags on the fenders. Split bench seat, automatic, so it had a C6 in it. Yeah. There's a 2-barrel. You hardly ever see 394 barrels in these. Why is that?
Yeah, probably. Wasn't that like something you had to order from the factory in these? I mean, you could get a 4-barrel, but I don't know.
I don't know. This is what's left of a 57 Chevy 4-door, it's a 210 4-door post. The only thing unique about it was the hood that they had on it was a custom teardrop hood that they had on it. It's been pushed around so many times over the last few years, it got squashed. I always liked the homemade teardrop hood on this 57 Chevy.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Yeah. The 210s were different, as that the fender, the quarter panel, the Bel Airs had a trim piece that went in here. It wasn't just painted in between the two side stripes. That's the only difference between a 210 and a Bel Air 57 on the trim. Here's a Rambler American. I think it's Ram. Got the V8 in it still. So this Rambler Ambassador has really cool dash. That's kind of neat. You can tell the cop you're only doing 12 miles an hour, 11 miles an hour, not 120, just 11. This one has a 327 in it. I think this was a 327, not the 289 AMC engine. It's pretty cool. Now, 327 and the 289s were AMC engines as well. They weren't Chevys or Fords. Yeah. Here is a 54 Chevy wagon. That's a big car.
these.
Yeah, there we go. You can make it into a panel wagon. Yeah, just weld up the seams to the back doors and fill in the windows with metal. Straight 6 as usual. These didn't have anything else. Most likely a 3 on the tree. Oh my lord, that used to be a 59 Impala. There's nothing left of it. Wow, somebody took everything off of this car. This is a 54 Chevy Two-Door. This is 4-door. You ever notice how the 6-cylinders back then looked like they used the same timing covers as small block Chevy?
Yeah, they do look similar, don't they?
I'm not sure if it's the same. Never bothered to put one up to next to each other.
Yeah, I've never compared the two.
Yeah.
You have some similarities, definitely.
Yeah. We have a whole section of international pickup trucks. That cool 69. There's an international Travelall. What kind of engine is in a 69 international pickup truck? I don't know. I've had friends that had a Travelall like this growing up, my next door neighbors. It was baby blue. They called it the Blue Moose. And I think they said it had a 400 cubic inch engine in it, or 401 or something like that. I wonder if that's one of these here in this pickup truck. Look at the valve setup. It's got a canted valve setup on the heads, John. Different angles, different push rocker arm setups. How the exhaust, the intake valve is kind of canted off. This looks like the exhaust valve because it's right next to the exhaust port. It's pretty cool. This Scout here has been picked pretty good, but it's an interesting one because it's a right-hand drive International Scout. Might have been a mail truck, I don't know.
I was gonna say, I wonder if it wasn't a mail vehicle.
Yeah. If you ever wonder why Scouts rust in the quarters, this is why. You unbolt the Scout and you have this airspace between it and the fender, and all this area is usually just packed with dirt. And they didn't have any way of keeping the dirt out of this area between, because the quarter panel would be like out here, and all this area would be just nothing but. I've seen a few of them where you take the fender off, the quarter panel off of them, and it's like 100 pounds of dirt packed into it. This one was a pretty good one before it came here. Somebody got both the quarters off of it. I think for an old mail truck, it would have been rusted out.
Yeah, surprisingly.
They have a whole bunch of Scouts here. See? A couple of the early square bodies. I like the earlier ones better. And you know, like Pontiac, who had a half of a V8 engine that they made a 4-cylinder, International had half of a 304. And they put them in some of the Scouts. I don't know if they have any of them here. Yep, there is one right there. Half of a V. This is half of a 304 V8. Right there. It's basically a 304 V8 with one of the cylinder block banks cut off of it.
I didn't know International made anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds like a tractor when it's running.
Yeah, I can do
I like the. It says all-wheel drive. Oh, here's another one, John. Maybe get a better view of it on this side. It's hard to see on these. It's not as easy, but it's actually a can. It looks like it's almost like a slant 4, but it's half of the V8. The driver's side V8 bank is just completely missing off of it, and they hung the intake manifold off, and it uses the same 304 head as a 304.
Yeah, it's basically just half of V8.
Yeah. Yeah. And it actually, if you look at the distributor, look at the distributor cap. It has every other spark plug wire is missing.
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah. Pretty interesting stuff. Being out here in farm country, having a whole bunch of Internationals in a salvage yard is not that unusual. He's got several of them out here. International Scouts, pickup trucks. This one's a pickup truck with the big V8 in it. It's had like everything in it, like even this water neck weighs like 30 pounds. It's solid cast iron. These 304s and 345s, and this might be a 345 because it's a 4-barrel. They weigh almost as much as a big block Chevy. They're like 700 pounds. Look at that 65 Catalina or Bonneville, I can't tell which. And then right next to it is 67 Catalina Two-Door. This came in as a complete car. Wow, the front seat on this one is, so the 65 is in nice shape. Oh, it's a Star Chief. See how they had the gauges pointed towards the driver? And the air conditioning unit, that's the air conditioning unit. Looks almost identical to the radio. See how the air conditioner unit looks almost like the radio? The seats in this are like mint.
Yeah, they're not bad at all.
Yeah. Here's a 65 Tempest 4-door. Not much left of it. Had the 6-cylinder, regular 6-cylinder in here. They used to have a 67 Tempest in here that actually had the overhead cam 6-cylinder in it. Years ago. Somebody finally snagged it. Oh. This is interesting. The car was blue. Or, that's weird. The car was blue. You can see the blue paint here. But it's all green behind the quarter panel. That's weird. What? Doesn't look like it was replaced. The out of the car, it's still blue back here on the behind the paint.
That's bizarre.
I wonder if that's some sort of undercoating back then.
Almost would have had to be, because it doesn't look like this thing's ever been wrecked in years.
This is a 54 DeSoto. This is a 2-door. It's a big car. That is one big car. Yeah. That's a flathead. Doesn't have the... Oh, the Hemi. I don't think the Firefly Hemi came along until later. There's another one there. Oh, that's a 53 Cadillac there. Looks like a tree fell on the hood. Yeah, somebody got their money's worth out of this one. This used to be a pickup truck or something. Probably a Chevy. Looking at the engine, it's a Chevy 6-cylinder. But there's nothing left of that. 62 T-Bird. Still has probably 390 in it. It's got the bigger port heads on it. See if I can see the casting number on it. C1AE, I think it is, or C7AE, C1AE. Yeah, they're the big ports on the heads. So it has the big valves and the big ports. Imagine a 394 barrel Thunderbird wouldn't get a small port engine. I guess Corvairs were pretty popular around here at one time. They have a bunch of them in this yard. This one's completely gutted. I think it was red originally and somebody painted it yellow. I got the engine out of it. 62 Biscayne, or excuse me, 63 Biscayne. It used to say Biscayne there on the fender. 4-door. Look at that, 1958 Oldsmobile. Somebody collected a lot of the trim off of this already. Had the big V8 in it. Oh no, this is Buick. I'm sorry, it's a Buick. There's a big Buick nail head in it. See how the intake manifold ports were pointing straight down and then they curved into the heads. These heads were not that great for flowing. They produced good torque, but they were not good for high horsepower. That's why they were never a big engine. Next to it is a 57 Buick Century, 55 Buick Century. Little Falcon. Okay, there we go. Kaiser Manhattan, 1954 Kaiser Manhattan. That's crazy. The hood's all mangled. These had a pretty interesting dash. These are pretty classy cars. Unfortunately, somebody got the dashboard out of it. I'd show it to you. Another Corvair. And another, oh, that looks like a 67 or 8 Mustang. Just an empty hull. They don't last around here. 63 Corvair convertible. Coupe, excuse me. And this one got pounded back here. Looks like they tried to fix it, make it drive for a while longer. Damn, John, do you see this dent? See the dent on this thing? Yeah, it looks like they...
Looks like they tried to beat some of it out.
Yeah, they didn't pull it because there's no holes in there where they pulled it, but they looks like they pounded it out a bit. They had to have shattered the rear window. I mean, without a rear window in it, you probably didn't drive it very long. That's pretty wild. Oh yeah. I can't get the door open. Let me show you that shifter. Look at that shifter on the dash. This is a 55 Chrysler.
New Yorker Deluxe.
Yeah, New Yorker, so it's Deluxe New Yorker. Oh, New Yorker Deluxe, huh? So this has probably had the Hemi V8 in it, the smaller one. The bottom of that steering box is the steering box is aluminum, and it's a power steering car, which is interesting. I like how how they did power steering back then. Oh, wait a minute. There's the power steering pump hanging off the back of the generator. That was common in the 50s. Somebody left all that behind and got the engine out of it. John here seems to think these late 40s DeSotos, this is a 47 DeSoto. Yeah. Gigantic grill. And their 4-doors were actually suicide. Back door.
You got a sideways push button radio.
Yeah, there's sideways push button radio. Pretty cool dashboard though. Did you watch Happy Days?
Oh yeah. Yeah, his dad drove.
His dad drove one of these. Richie Cunningham's dad drove one of these. I like these door handles too. These are pretty cool. Stuff they don't do anymore. And the little door locks have the little key block here, so the key wouldn't freeze up.
Remember the episode where Fonzie was sucked up with his dad's DeSoto?
Yeah. Yeah. Richie got in a drag race with one, and he was driving his dad's DeSoto, and they souped it up. I have no idea how you soup up a flathead straight 8 out of a DeSoto. Thing was maybe 5,000 pounds. It was a 51 Chevy Ford, 2-door hardtop. Little Nova, Prius 62 Nova 4-door. Here's a Buick, looks like mid-60s, 64. Does it have a nail head in it? Well, it had a V8 in it of some sort. Can't remember what year he went away from the nail heads. 65 Plymouth Fury Sedan. This one has probably, oh wait a minute, that is a Poly, either a 318 or 361 Poly in it. 1970. This is not a Fury, this is the cheap version, I forget what they called it. It has a small block 2-barrel, aftermarket air conditioner.
So actually this was a Fury 3.
Is it a Fury 3?
Fury 3, yep.
did not have factory AC. It has a York compressor. York made compressors for a lot of aftermarket. Ford used them a lot too. Nowadays, a lot of the rat rodders like them because the York compressor, you can use it to pump airbags.
Air ride, yeah.
Yep. It's probably a 318 two-barrel in this land yacht. You can see it still has the underdash AC unit on it. Get my hand out of that window. There's another nailhead in this 55 Buick. You can see how the rocker setup was on it underneath the valve covers. And how the valves are straight up and down. This one's a two-barrel version. That is not a 74 Mustang. That is probably a 72 Mustang. 74 was a Mustang 2. Another gutted Mustang. Oh, he had the Endura front bumper. Looked like it caught fire. Nice little Fairlane, 62 Fairlane. Has a Windsor in it. That could be a 221 or a 260 in 62. It's not likely to be a 289.
I think they were 260s, if I remember.
Oh, they also had a 221 in 62. Yeah. Earlier ones.
A buddy of mine, his dad had a 2.
Here's another 65 Rambler Ambassador. This one has a 6-cylinder in it. And this one was red, they painted it black. What's the dash? Rambler Classic 550. I'm sorry. This was the bigger Ambassador, but it's not. Here's a 55 Ford. So on 55, that would make this the 272 most likely, or it could be a 292 V8. Yeah, they got a piece of tin over. It's a 2-barrel engine. They managed to take the heads off of it and leave the intake manifold on. That's interesting. It's still bolted on. Actually, no, it's not. It's yeah, it's just sitting there. They didn't even unhook the throttle linkage. They got these heads off without doing any of that. The Thunderbird, the Y block. That's what they were. They were Y blocks. And I don't know if you can see it on the intake manifold. These Y blocks were interesting in the fact that they had a stacked intake runner. See how they have let's see if I can get it in there, a shot of that there, like over and under intake runners instead of side by side. Get that, there we go, like that. See, made these engines, that was their biggest limiting factor in making these big horsepower engines, even the 312s. They weren't super horsepowers because they had such tiny little intake ports on them. Probably why nobody ever made an intake manifold for these. Maybe Offenhauser did, I don't know, but that was the limiting factor on these Y blocks. Here's a whole bunch of Corvairs down here. A whole bunch of them. Most of these don't have engines in them anymore. A lot of these have been picked. I mean, somebody cut the roof off of this 4-door. Another coupe. There's another 63 coupe. There's still quite a bit of parts on them. It's just that most of these don't have engines anymore. See a little better without the big thing on there. You can see the engine a little better than the cylinder.
See the crank in it?
Yeah, you can see the crankshaft. See the fend aluminum cylinders. This one's just so full of dirt. I'm surprised it wouldn't overheat. Running them down dirt roads their whole lives. Cylinders get filled with them. I like the big, huge ground strap there.
Industrial ground strap.
Yeah. 1-barrel carburetor on each side. Here's another 60 Chevy. From the lack of trim, I'm going to say a Bel Air or a Biscayne. Has another 283 2-barrel in it. You know, when we were kids, nobody would ever leave an engine like this in there because they would want to build this. Solid, forged crankshaft 283. That'd be in some guy's hot rod bored out to a 301. I mean, the heads, these aren't, the 2-barrel heads aren't desirable, but 68 4-door Thunderbird. It's got suicide doors on the back on these 68s. See? Kind of like the Lincoln Continentals of that era. You can see the massive vacuum lines going all the way across, operating all this stuff on these things. It's just, and they're plastic, they're not rubber. So they brittle and they blow. Even if they're rubber for 50 years, they won't break. Here's a 63 Oldsmobile 98. This was somebody's grandmother's car. Has a big Olds V8 in it, 394. Had the factory air conditioning in it. The factory AC suitcase. Squirrel cage style van in it. These things were... This was luxury back in 1963. The only thing nicer than an Oldsmobile in 63 was the Cadillac. Somebody gutted this one for the dashboard. Oh, look, there's the dashboard. It's in the back seat. Man, these things are heavy. Even the dashboard's heavy back in 63. Yeah, these are Flathead 6. Oh, yeah. Supersonic. Supersonic Flathead 6. I don't know.
Look at the distributor location.
Yeah, it's right in the middle of the block. I don't know how hot rodded these were with a single 1-barrel on them. It's got a Delco Remy. Does this one still have the dash pod in it? Nope, somebody got most of it. We'll go around the other side real quick. You can see most of the other. These Kaiser, there had to have been a Kaiser dealer around here because this is like the 4th one they've gotten. Look at that, the cool little door handles on these. Pull out like that. So, 54. I think it's stereo. Isn't that cool? Well, it's not a stereo, it was a radio. Nice little clock. Art Deco style fonts on them and still. You can see the back seat on this one, how comfortable it was, and in the back windows. You even had wing windows in the back then. And then they had the opera lights in between the pillars on these, which was kind of cool. I wish maybe they have one that still has them in here. And then the two-tone interior, green and white interior on this. These were fancy cars back in 1954. Completely different looking than everybody else. I like how the door locks have this little thumb. I guess to keep the dirt and frost out of them. Another Galaxy here, 68. This one's got the hideaway headlights. Pretty cool. You can see the shaft here going across. And there's the vacuum pod. Oh, it's got a hot rod sticker on the back window. Holley equipped, huh? Holley 2-barrel, maybe. I don't know. Maybe a 4-barrel on this one. This is another 390. They didn't have any 352s in 68. 2-door. Somebody's hot rod, I guess. If you ever saw White Lightning with Burt Reynolds, you'd probably recognize this car right here. He drove a brown version of this, 72 LTD. This was a grandma's grocery getting special when it came in here. Unfortunately, this one did not have the badass 428 that you saw in White Lightning, but Yeah, the 4-speed. Yeah. Nope, he didn't have. This one's got like a 302 with an automatic air conditioning. This was some Blue Hairs special. Look at this. Another Kaiser Manhattan. This one's a 51. Next to a 54 Plymouth that somebody murdered out in all black. Back off here.
Some good old boy probably.
Yeah, oh yeah, right. Yeah. Somebody likes the dashboards in these because they're all gone on all these cars. And they even got the opera lights out of that side and this side. I wish I could show you. They're pretty cool little deals. That was in between on the B pillars. Look at that fancy dash lighter ashtray at this end. Though it has a plug for where the lighter should be. So this 54 Plymouth Savoy, somebody murdered it out in black, and then they started grinding all the paint off of it, I guess, to do it right. They painted everything. They painted the door handles and the door locks and 3-speed on the tree. Somebody thought this was their pride and joy. I mean, you got to look at it. It's not that rusted out. I mean, there's barely any rust. There's a little bit of patchwork that needs to be done in the rear quarters, but that was it. The hood's jammed. Pretty sure it's got a flat. I'm gonna crawl under. Maybe we can see. I'm pretty sure it's got the. Oh yeah, straight 6. Excuse me, flathead 6 in it still. If they were driving this too long ago, they were on death, running around on 775 by 15 bias ply tires that are older than, older than dirt. Here's a 66 Ford pickup truck. It's got an FE engine in it, 2-barrel. These usually had the smaller valved heads in it. So we got the front fender, another Corvair. Here's a another 65 Galaxy 2-door hardtop. This was somebody's hot rod. The doors that were on it had numbers on them or something. I don't remember if this. Yeah, it was a 390 car. Somebody's hot rod project at one time. 62 Cadillac has the it's a 390 in these, or 429. Wait a minute, 62 is a 390. Somebody got the heads and intake off of this. There's the 4-barrel intake manifold. You see these old 4-barrel? This is a WCFB or Rochester 4-jet bolt pattern. And if you ever wondered why an Edelbrock has 2 bolt patterns for bolting on the intake manifold, you can actually bolt a 600 Edelbrock right on this. It has to be a 600 because it has the small throttle blades in the front. You can't put a 750 on one of these engines because the throttle blades won't open. Because the throttle blades on the 750 are bigger than the primaries. The one thing that you got to do if you want to do that, John, is you see this exhaust crossover here. You have to take the intake manifold off and block it. Otherwise, because the Rochester carburetor, the 4-jet, actually had a cast iron base plate. It can handle the heat. Edelbrock carburetor would melt from that exhaust. So if you block, I did this on a 58 Cadillac. If you block the crossover, and you go from a 465 CFM carburetor to a 600, it's not ideal, but it's a lot more air going to it, and you get more horsepower out of it with just a carburetor change, and it bolts right on. Another 40. Here's a 49 DeSoto. Another monstrous four-door sedan. The hood is huge.
Straight 8?
6. Straight 6.
Straight 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, 6. Somebody got the cylinder head off of this. I don't know what they were going to use it for. Monstrous car. Here's a 40 something. It's almost like a 44, John. Is this a 44? No. No, Dodge. Yep, special deluxe. Yep, here's a 53 Ford. It's got a...
The Dodge was kind of the working man's car. If you ever look at these,
Yeah.
they didn't have a lot of options.
No, they didn't have a lot of trim in them.
Dashes are really just real basic in them.
Here's another Y block in this 53 Ford. And this was a single exhaust version of the Y block. The single exhaust versions, have you ever noticed this on a Y block? They would have this exhaust crossover on them, on the manifolds. The factory dual exhaust ones would not have this exhaust pipe. They wouldn't even have the caps. It'd be a different exhaust manifold altogether. Which is probably 272 two-barrel, most likely, on this one. 66 Cadillac, that's a sedan, but this one still has the 389 in it.
70 XL, I guess.
Yeah, Ford XL. Here's a 59 Dodge. Here's a 59 Dodge pickup truck, John.
Yeah, this actually, you need to get a picture of this. This was an old Army issue.
Yeah, wasn't this at the Kearney airport? Yep, U.S. Army right there on the door.
Yeah, painted across the roof here, too.
Yeah. I think this was a Kearney airport vehicle forever. And they finally made its way here. Somebody put a Chevy step-side bed on it. U.S. Army truck. There's an airport here in Kearney that used to be a U.S. Army base all the way up into the 50s. Yeah. Oh, I don't know how about old these are. Here's a 63 Impala two-door. This just came in. It's already gutted. The 63 and two-door, they don't last very long around here. Pair of 78 Monte Carlos, if you're into the 78 Monte Carlos. In LA, these are pretty popular. And one of these had a tricked out interior in it. It was almost like a pink colored interior. Oh, look what's on the end. I gotta show you what's on the end. Somebody's small block Chevy line here on the dirt. Probably came out of this Monte Carlo. Porsche 914. More or less a VW. VW. This is a Porsche 914. They didn't have a Porsche 6-cylinder engine in them. I love that seat though. Isn't that cool? And I noticed how the passenger seat doesn't really move. The passenger seat doesn't move. It doesn't have the headrest built into the seat.
Seen a custom car, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like a race car, a custom car from the 70s. The pan in this is in really nice shape. Look at that. The floor pan is mint. This thing was originally yellow, or I don't know. Yeah, yellow was real popular. So they took the engine and transaxle out of it, obviously. But it was a Porsche. It was a 4-cylinder, very much like the Volkswagen 4-cylinder. There was a couple of years where you could get a 914 with a 6-cylinder out of the 911.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were the 914-6. You can see here, this one was 914 1.7. I don't know if that was it or not. If this had the original Porsche 6-cylinder in it, somebody was probably smart to keep that engine. It has KYB gas adjust shocks on it, or struts. And, well, it looks like the car was originally blue back here. Looks like it's been painted a couple of times over the years. That's silver and with primer. See the blue? Pretty blue color. Well, it's pretty blue around here.
The interior was blue, but the outside was kind of this.
Yeah. Well, that was all underneath the carpet, so you never saw any of that.
I never saw that, so.
Yeah, this car was originally blue. I'm not sure why they painted yellow stuff on the dash, unless they got the dash out of a yellow car. It's possible they got the dash out of a yellow car.
I wonder, this thing must have been pieced together or something.
Hang on, hold my camera.
The different colors, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm going to try out the seat. I'm gonna just kind of sit it.
Excuse me. Comfortable?
Yeah, it is actually comfortable. Oh, yeah. Targa top. Missing the Targa. Oh, why not? That's probably that.
Yeah, I think it's laying in the back,
That's
actually.
a really comfortable seat. You're on the floor, but it's comfortable.
It's probably somebody has to snag those for a rat rod project or something, you know what?
Well, on the other side's missing. It's interesting how the other side just bolts in. It doesn't even move. It's got the headrest built into the rubber.
I guess I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, that's cool. I never noticed that on these. My neighbor had one when I grew up. You can see down here.
Mm-hmm.
Made in Western Germany. Carmen. I guess it was the Carmen was the body designer. That's a comfortable seat. Very comfortable. You know what you do? Make an office chair out of one of these.
That'd be cool. Not a bad idea.
We got an 89 Lincoln Town Car with a 5.0 in it. More or less the exact same engine that was in the Mustang GTs. Different cam, maybe. Detuned a little bit, but these were always babied. You know, Mustang GT engines were just beat on by most of the kids after you got them third owners. But these engines were taken care of. They were babied. They were never... Probably could pull this engine out of here and run it. What do you think? That's pretty, it's a complete car. Got that Ford Duraspark distributor on it still. Nice long runner intake manifold. Probably runs pretty good, I bet. The Lincoln coded door locks. You could program the door locks without having to use a key. This is before keyless entry. A city car for Ogallala. Well, the speed of the odometer says 40,000 miles. My guess it's 140,000.
Yeah, this must have been some kind of
Keith County map. Ooh, there's a map to Keith County, Nebraska.
Familiar with Front Street in Ogallala? It's actually kind of an old west.
This was a Keith County car? Oh, look at that. Yeah. Wow. Can barely see it. This was a city. This belonged to the city of Ogallala. Wow.
I don't know much about Ogallala.
There you go. Another Lincoln Town car. This one's monstrous. This is a mid-70s. Square body monster. With a giant 385 series 2-barrel. That had to have been a 460 or 429.
It's got the engine tag on the valve cover here.
Does it say?
Vehicle emission.
What does it say? Can you tell?
Better look at it than I.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is a 351 or 400M engine. So it says 5.8. Get my arm hooked on the hood hinge. See, 5.8 or 6.6. That means it's a 351M or a 400M. Most likely a 400 in this monster of a car. This baby is white with robin's egg blue leather luxury interior. Are you kidding me? This thing costs as much as a Cadillac. There was another poor man about this one. I like the little opera windows they had back then. Right here, back behind the doors. This was opulent for the country club set. Look at that, luxury vinyl leather. No vinyl in this baby. 20 cows died to make this one. Before PETA. And the world's largest trunk. Look at the size of that freaking trunk.
You could rent that out.
Even if you had a full-size spare in there, you could still get 20 dead bodies in this thing. I think it was massive. This had to have been belonged to a little old lady. I can't imagine a man buying a white car with robin's egg blue leather, but it had to have been for the wife. But that is one fancy ride. All right, here we go. Next step down from the Lincoln Town Car. Mercury Grand Marquis, 1976. This one has a 400M in it as well. Well, if it was a 429 or a 460, it would have been stolen by now. Somebody would have taken it out of here. This one is a canary yellow with matching leather interior. Woof! Look at that. Except I think that's vinyl. I do not think that's leather. Being a Mercury, it could be either. You can get either in a Mercury, but this is... Oh yeah, that's the vinyl.
Rich Corinthian vinyl.
Yeah, genuine imitation. Yeah, she had fender skirts at one time. Oh, I like how it has a switch for the speakers underneath the dash. Guess this was a poor man's fader back then. Philco AM radio.
The old reverb button back in the day.
Oh yeah, they had reverb. 66 Impala. Philco AM radio, so they didn't even bother with an FM radio back even in the 70s on this one. Still, look, this thing's in mint condition. There's not a speck of rust on this thing. I'm lying underneath this 76 Mercury Grand Marquis. Ford 9-inch in it. Has the tag still on the 9-inch. Which, you know, in 76 in a Mercury Grand Marquis, it's, yep. See, it has 2.75. If it had an L, it would have been a posi. That's the gear ratio, 275, which is probably what I expected. I'd have been shocked if it had anything else in it. I always like this in their motorcycle section. Their version of a Captain America, except it's not a Harley.